Today I'm going to show you how to crochet this Olaf hat. The video tutorial that you're about to see is going to be for stitch counts and row counts of a standard toddler size. You can also check out the links in the description below to get the written pattern that will include the toddler and the child size, as well as a list of all of the materials that you'll need for this project. We're going to work on the eyes right now. Okay, so working on the eyes, I like to do the accessories first, set them aside, work on the hat, and then attach them. It's just my personal preference. You could definitely find how you like to do it better. Also, please do take a look at the links in the description below. There's a lot of helpful links there, as well as a link to the written pattern if you'd rather get that. And I like to use a size chart sometimes if I'm using different kind of yarn or hooks. For this project, I'm using Bernat Super Value yarn, and yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. You're going to take your yarn, we're going to work a magic ring with the black, so drape it over your 4 fingers, wrap it around, and just let it fall over and across. Hold it in place. You're going to take your hook, put it under that first piece, over the next one, and scoop up a loop. Carefully pull your hand out and pick up the working yarn. Chain 1. Okay. Now, working over both pieces of the yarn here in your magic ring, we're going to single crochet 5 times. So put your hook into the middle of the magic ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So we're going to do that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now you're going to take that little piece here and pull your magic ring closed. And then you're going to close. I know it's very hard to see when I'm using a dark yarn, so I apologize. The rest of the project will be with a lighter one, but this is necessary for the middle of the eye. So you're going to find that chain 1, and you're going to close your round with a slip stitch into the chain 1 space. So you're just going to push your hook right through the chain 1, yarn over, pull through both loops. I know I hold my working yarn weird, as I've received a lot of comments about that, so I'm aware and I'm okay with it. All right, so before we chain 1 to start the next round, we're actually going to go ahead and grab our white yarn. All right, so once you go ahead and you get your white yarn, you're going to make a loop. Just wrap it around your finger, pull up that little bottom piece, and push just some of the top bit through to make your loop. Go ahead and put that on your hook, and we're going to pull that into our work here. Okay, and we're going to chain 1 with our white yarn. Now, working into each stitch all the way around, which remember we just did 5 single crochets. We're going to work 2 single crochets into each of those stitches. So you're going to push your hook through that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2. And we're going to go into that very same stitch again. So that's 2 single crochets in that 1 stitch. And we're going to do that into every single stitch all the way around. So by the time that you finish this round, you should have a total of 10 stitches. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and my last 2, 9, 10. And then into that chain 1 space, we're going to close with a slip stitch to close our round. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1 to begin the next round. And you can use a stitch marker to mark your chain 1 space if it makes it a little bit easier. Up to you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to work 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next, 2 in the following, and 1 into the next. And we're just going to go ahead and keep on doing that all the way around. And by the time that we get to the beginning, back to the beginning, so at the end of this round, we should have a total of 15 stitches. Okay, now we're back at the beginning. We're going to close this round with our slip stitch, and we're going to change to gray yarn. So you can go ahead and fasten off that other yarn there. You can even fasten off a little piece of this right now just to make it a bit easier and less in your way. And now we're going to switch to our gray. Okay. Same idea, we're going to make our starting loop, and then we're going to go ahead and get that on our hook, and we're going to pull that through. So now we're dropping that white yarn and we're working with the gray. Chain 1. We're going to single crochet twice into that first stitch, and we're going to single crochet once into that next one and once into the following. Okay, so we did 2 single crochets in the first, 1 into each of the following 2. We're going to do 2 in the next, 1 into each of the following 2. And you're going to go ahead and do that all the way around, close with a slip stitch, and then come back. By the time that you get to the end of this round, you should have 20 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and do that and then come on back. All right, so now that you're back at the beginning, you can just pull out a little bit there. Maybe even make this tail a little bit longer, because you're going to use this to sew this onto your hat. So I like to make a pretty long one. Pull that all the way through. See, so now you have some yarn to work with when you're sewing it onto the hat. Okay, so you have one eye done. So you can go ahead and rewind these steps. Okay, like put the video back to the start, and if you need to, and make the other eye. Okay, have a look at the timestamp on the video right now, because that way, or actually no, if you're doing these steps all over again, here I am thinking out loud. Anyway, you'll end up right back here. So yeah, go ahead, make the other eye, and then come back. All right, so now that you have both eyes, we're going to go ahead and set them aside and work on the nose. All right, so for the nose, you're going to need your 4mm crochet hook and your orange yarn. You're going to wrap the yarn around your finger, make your starting loop, and get that on your hook. Oops. All right. So we're going to chain 15. You're going to yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And as you can see, well, I don't know if you can tell from the video or not, but I just want to make note of this, because although I have my recommended yarn always in my patterns, sometimes I do use scrap yarn I have laying around to use it up. So this is orange yarn I had left over from Halloween, making tons of pumpkin hats and little mini pumpkins and whatnot. So anyway, I already had this left over. I didn't worry about going and trying to find orange yarn in the exact same yarn that, you know, my pattern calls for. I used what I had, especially this is for an accessory. It makes zero impact on the sizing of the hat, so it doesn't matter, okay? For a lot of the things, especially accessories, whatever yarn you have laying around is perfectly fine. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach our last chain here, that we, well, where we our loop where we have our hook. We're gonna go ahead and connect into the first chain that we made with a slip stitch. So push your hook through, yarn over, and pull right through. So now you've got this little ring here. Okay, you can get that little tail end out of your way. If you like to crochet right over it as you go, so you don't have to weave in tail ends, all the better. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and chain one, and we're gonna start working in the round. So we're gonna do a single crochet into every single chain all the way around, just one time. Okay, so push your hook in that first chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. So go ahead and just work one single crochet into every single chain all the way around. Close with your slip stitch in your chain one space from the start of the round, and then come back. Okay, so now that you're back at the beginning, you're going to chain one to start your next round, and you're going to work a single crochet into every single stitch all the way around. Just one single crochet into every single stitch all the way around. When you get back to the start, you're going to close with a slip stitch in the chain one space, and you're going to chain one to begin the next round. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and do this. So you're going to do this round that we're working on right now, and then you're going to do one more. All right, so go ahead and work on 2 rounds of one single crochet in each stitch. So again, one single crochet into each stitch all the way around. Close with a slip stitch in your chain one space, chain one. Then again, do one single crochet in every single stitch around, close with a slip stitch, and then come back. All right, so now that you've finished those 2 rounds of single crochets and you've closed with your slip stitch and chain one, we're going to start our next round. And I'm going to use a stitch marker to mark my chain one space. Okay, and let's go ahead and begin. So we're going to work a single crochet decrease. So you're going to push your hook in that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Hold on to that yarn, and you're going to push your hook in the very next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So now we have 3 loops on our hook, and we've worked into 2 stitches. So we're taking these 2 stitches and we're turning them into 1. So yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so that's a single crochet decrease. Now we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to work another single crochet decrease. So put your hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Put your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to work another single crochet decrease. And we've got 1 more stitch to work. Just do a single crochet. And we're going to close with our slip stitch into that chain 1 space. You can take that stitch marker out. We're going to chain 1 to start our next round. And you can put your stitch marker into that new chain for the new round. You're going to start to notice your little caret forming, because it's going to, right now we're working those decrease rounds, so it's going to give us that effect. Okay, so now we're going to work 1 single crochet into every single stitch. Having trouble getting in that one. So 1 single crochet into every single stitch all the way around, and you're going to close your round with a slip stitch in your chain 1 space and chain 1 to start the next one. We're going to do this for 3 rounds. So go and do 3 rounds of just 1 single crochet in every stitch around, and then come back. All right, so now that you finish those 3 rounds of single crochet, we're going to start our next round. So we're going to single crochet decrease all the way around. Just going to push your hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, go in that next one, pull through all 3. And you're literally just going to do that all the way around. So we are going to kind of drastically decrease this opening at the top of our carrot, where our carrot nose, we're almost getting to the end of it here. Okay. Okay, there we go. And you're going to close with your slip stitch in that chain 1 space. And this is a little bit awkward, but necessary. Okay, so you're going to go ahead, chain 1 for your next round. Move your stitch marker up if you're using one. Okay, and we're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch around. Okay, close with your slip stitch in that chain 1 space. And you're just going to pull up a tail end here. Fasten it off. I like to do somewhat of a long one. I'll show you why. You don't have to do it this way, but it'll make sense to you in a minute. So take the stitch marker out if you're using one. Pull the end of that tail through. Okay. Now you've got the shape of your carrot here. And the reason I like to pull such a long tail end is because I'm going to use my yarn needle now just to close this up and push it right through. And then I'll use the tail end to sew this onto the hat. And you could just tuck the beginning tail in. And I'm going to show you because we're also going to have to stuff it with our polyfill. So you can go ahead and get your yarn needle. Okay, and just in the top of your work there, you can kind of like weave it in and out of those couple of stitches. You can close it however you want to. This is just how I personally like to. So weave it in and out, and then you can just pull it so it completely closes. See that? Like a little drawstring, and then just poking it right through, careful you don't poke your finger, the top. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want to completely indent it, so it could be a little tricky. You don't have to do it this way. You can completely fasten it off and reattach down here and sew it on. I just like to do it this way. So now I'll push it through like this. Oops. Right, so I'm ready with my yarn here and I'm ready to stitch it onto the hat. But first we need to stuff it because we don't want it to end up like this. That's not a very nice carrot nose, right? We want it to keep its shape. So we're gonna get our polyfill stuffing. You only need a tiny little bit. This is probably even too much, to be honest. So go ahead and just push some in there. Yeah, I've got way too much here. You don't need too much. And I just can cut it off. Careful you don't cut your yarn work. And just stuff that in. All right, just that simple. And when we finish our hat, you're gonna just use your yarn needle and sew that on around the stitches here, right onto your hat. Okay, so you can go ahead and set your carrot nose aside and work on the next step. Okay, so now we're gonna be working with our black yarn and we're back to our 5mm crochet hook. You're not gonna need the 4 anymore. It was just for the nose. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and make our starting loop. Get that on our hook. And we're going to chain 4. Whoops, we're working on the mouth right now, by the way. Did I say that? Anyway, working on the mouth. So we're going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook. And each of the next 2. So we'll have a total of 3 stitches in this row. Chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to work 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in that middle one, and 2 into the last one. Chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each of our stitches down the row. So you should have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to work 2 single crochets in that first stitch, 1 into each of the next 3. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work 2 into that very last stitch of the row. Chain 1 and turn your work. Now we're going to work 2 single crochets in the very first stitch, 1 into each of the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 2 into that very last one. Chain 1 and turn your work. So you should now have 9 stitches. We're going to work 2 into the first, 1 into each of the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 2 into the last one. Chain 1 and turn your work. So now you should have 11 stitches. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each of those 11 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so now it's not a very smooth edge, right? So we're going to chain 1, and we're now going to single crochet evenly all the way around. So it's going to give us like a nice clean edge on that big, wide, happy Olaf smile. Let's go ahead and just work 1 single crochet evenly all the way around. And we want to make our way back to that chain 1 space, so you can just go ahead and keep on with your even single crochets just by working one into each stitch across. So we can get back into that chain one because we want to close this round into our chain one space. Here we're at the beginning, and you're just going to go ahead and close into that chain one space. Okay, fasten off with a fairly long tail end because again, you're going to be using this to sew it onto your hat. All right, and we're going to go ahead and set that aside. And make your starting loop. Get that on your hook. And we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. I split my yarn on that last one. We're going to single crochet into that second chain from our hook, just one time, and once into each of the remaining chains down our row. So you should have a total of 5 stitches at the end of this row. Okay, chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to single crochet into each of those same stitches again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1 and turn your work. And we're going to repeat the last row one more time with 1 single crochet into each of those 5 stitches. All right, and we're going to fasten off with a fairly long tail end. Pull that through, and we're going to use a yarn needle to sew that onto our mouth, just like that. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward, that part, but let's just go ahead and do it together anyways. So with the little tail end that was from the starting of our teeth, just go ahead and weave it in a little bit just to hide it so it's not sticking out and it doesn't end up sticking out. And then you could just cut that right down. Okay. And then we can go ahead and get our long tail end from the end, like when we finished our teeth. And we'll use this to sew that on to the mouth, right up top there. You don't have to be a great sewer. I definitely am not, which is why I wanted to do this part with you, because when it comes to the hat, when you're finishing it and you're putting on all the accessories, it can be a little bit overwhelming if you don't sew, because I know that these character patterns do involve quite a bit of sewing to get all the little features on. You don't have to be a great sewer, so don't let that discourage you from making these super cute character hats. Because as you can see, I am not a sewer. So if I can do it, you can do it. You're just going to go ahead and, oops, I pulled that right off, right out of my needle. I actually bought a sewing machine because I do want to learn how to sew. I haven't got around to it. Okay, it's not a big fancy one, very cheap, just to learn. All right, so I like to pull that over just a little bit and line it up good. There we go. you've got your teeth on your mouth. And then in the back of this, remember, this doesn't matter because it's going to be on like the front of the hat. So no one's going to see the back of this here. So just go ahead and hide and secure your tail end. Okay. Fasten that off. And you can, even if you want to right now, let's just do it together because I don't know, why not? Let's go ahead and just finish this off. So let's weave that in there so it doesn't end up poking out. Oops. There. We're going to leave this because we're going to need that to sew it onto the hat. So we're done the mouth. Okay. We're actually done all of our little accessories. So now we can just, or no, we're not. We still have to make the twiggy hair. Okay. We're almost done the accessories. We're getting there. Let's move on to the hair, the little twiggy hair. Grab your brown yarn and your 5mm crochet hook. You're going to go ahead, make the beginning tail end a little bit, like when you're making your starting loop, give yourself something that you can work with your hands to tie it. And when we're attaching it to the hat, it will make sense. So please just trust me for now and give yourself a little, I don't know, a couple of inches of yarn at the starting of your work and the ending tail, because we're just going to pull it through the top of the hat and tie it inside and then kind of hide it in. So it'll make sense when we're doing it, but just trust me, okay? So make your starting loop, get that on your hook, and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Single crochet into the second chain from your hook, just once, and each chain down the row. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. My twigs probably look weird because I'm using a different yarn. It's kind of a thinner one, but it's fine. There we go. So if yours is looking thicker and that's okay. All right, so 5. And then you have like your this little thing here, okay? You're just gonna fasten it off. That's it. That's literally all there is to it for the little twiggy hair. See, because this is what I was talking about. When you make the hat, we're just gonna like pull this through the top and tie it so it sticks on, okay? So for these little twigs, I'm just looking at my written pattern here to see how many times I said that we should make it 3 more times. So you have 4 twigs for the hair. So go ahead and do that 3 more times so that you have 4 twigs for the hair. And when it comes to the strips for the twigs for the arms, which is like the strings that are going to come from the ear flaps, we'll do that at the very end. Obviously, we got to make the hat first. So go ahead and work on your little twiggies 3 more times, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll start making the hat. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our hat. So using our white yarn, we're gonna make our magic ring. Okay, wrap the yarn around our 4 fingers of our hand, hold it in place with our thumb and our little X there. Go under that first piece over the next and pull up your loop. Grab your working yarn and we're gonna chain 2. We're gonna work double crochets. Oops, I split my yarn there. All right, so we're gonna work 2 double crochets into our magic ring. So being sure to work over these 2 strands. Yarn over your hook, push it right in the middle of your magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook. We're gonna yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the next 2. And just for extra measure, let's go ahead and mark the top of our chain 2 space. Okay, so we've done 1 double crochet. We want 10. So that's 1, here's 2, 3, oops, again. So I'm at 1, 2, 3. My magic ring is a little bit too big. There's a little tip for you. If it's too big and hard to hold, you're going to keep on having your yarn fall off your hook. So I have 3 double crochets. So 4, 5, 6, geez, 7, keep making it fall right off there, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so we've got our 10 double crochets in our magic ring. We're going to grab that little tail bit here, pull it closed. Okay, pull up some more yarn there. Find the top of your chain 2 space, close with a slip stitch. What am I doing here? I went into the top of my chain 2 with my stitch marker as though it was a stitch. So go into your the top of your chain 2 space and close with a slip stitch. Okay? Now, we're going to chain 2 to start our next round. And we're going to work 2 double crochets in every stitch all the way around. So by the end of this round, you should have 20 stitches. It's 2 into each stitch all the way around. Okay, and then close with your slip stitch at the top of your chain 2 space. Chain 2 to begin our next round. We're going to do 2 double crochets into that first stitch, one in the next, 2 in that following stitch, one in the next. Okay, so do that all the way around, close with a slip stitch, chain 2 and come back. By the end of this round, you should have 30 stitches. Okay, so now that you've finished that round, we're going to start our next one. So 2 double crochet in the first stitch, 1 into each of the next 2 stitches, 2 in the following, 1 into each of the next 2 stitches. And you're going to go ahead and keep on alternating like that all the way around. And of course, you're going to close with your slip stitch in the top of your chain 2 space, chain 2, and then come back. And by the end of this round, you should have a total of 40 stitches. Okay, for this next round, we're going to do 2 double crochets into the first stitch, and 1 into each of the next 3 stitches. So 2 in the first, 1 into each of the next 3. Do that all the way around, close of the slip stitch at the top of the chain 2 and come back. By the end of this round, you should have a total of 50 stitches. All right, so now that you've finished that, we're done with our crown diameter. So now we're gonna be working on our hat height. So we're gonna work 1 double crochet into every single stitch all the way around. Just 1 in each stitch around. Close of the slip stitch at the top of your chain 2 to start the next round. You're gonna do this for a total of 9 rounds and then come back. So pause the video, go do 9 rounds of double crochet, just 1 double crochet in each stitch around, 9 rounds, and then come back. All right, so now that you've finished all of those rounds, you can take your stitch marker out if you have it. I was keeping mine to mark how many rounds I had to do there. All right, so you're gonna fasten off. You don't need to leave a super long tail end here. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and work on our ear flaps. So you're gonna take your white yarn again. We're gonna make our starting loop and we're gonna reattach it into the 6th stitch from the back seam being where we just fastened off from. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put your hook in that stitch and go ahead and get your yarn on your hook. You're gonna pull it through and chain 1. Working in that very same stitch that we've just attached to, we're gonna half double crochet. And then we're gonna half double crochet into each of the next 11 stitches. So we'll have a total of 12 stitches right now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to go ahead and half double crochet back down those same 12 stitches, just 1 half double crochet in each of those same 12 stitches. Chain 1 and turn your work. So now we're going to half double crochet decrease. So you're going to yarn over, push your hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Hold on to your loops here, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now you've got 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4. We're going to half double crochet into each of the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and half double crochet decrease. Chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to half double crochet decrease to start this row. And we're going to half double crochet decrease into each of the next 6 stitches, just 1 into the next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to half double crochet decrease into that last one there. Chain one and turn your work. Half double crochet decrease to start the next row. Half double crochet once into each of the next 4. Half double crochet decrease to end the row. Chain one and turn your work. Half double crochet decrease to start the next row. Half double crochet into each of the next 2. Half double crochet decrease to end the row. Chain one, turn your work. Okay, now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, so we're going to half double crochet decrease twice. Okay, chain one, turn your work, and half double crochet decrease, because you've only got those 2 stitches left. Okay, chain one, and we'll fasten it off. Now what we're going to do is same thing for the other side. So go to the back of your hat. From that back seam, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to reattach your yarn into that 6th stitch. You're going to copy these steps again for the other ear flap, but when you finish the ear flap on this side, do not fasten it off. Just come back here and I'll show you what to do next. So now that you've finished this ear flap, you're going to chain one, and I would recommend getting your stitch marker out and just mark that chain one, because now we're going to go ahead and single crochet evenly all the way around the entire hat for the same reason we did with Olaf's mouth. It just gives a much nicer finish. So I mean, I guess this part's optional, but I definitely recommend it. It makes a really big difference in the overall look of your hat. So go ahead and single crochet evenly all the way around the entire hat, and you're going to close with a slip stitch when you get back to this chain one space, and then come back. Okay, so now that you've gone all the way around, you're going to just fasten it off. Pull that through. And now you're going to use your yarn needle just to weave all of these loose tail ends that you're going to have throughout your hat. Weave it in and out of some of the stitches on the inside, secure it, fasten it off. Okay. Then you're going to use your yarn needle to attach all of these, the little facial features, accessories, whatever you want to call them, onto your hat, and place it out first to make sure it all fits good where you want it to go. Okay. And then what you're going to do, so you go ahead and you're going to use your yarn needle. You're going to attach everything, hide your tail ends. You're going to use your yarn needle and some black yarn and just kind of freehand, stitch some eyebrows and, give Olaf a little expression. And let me show you, because that part I think you're good. You can go ahead and attach those. But I want to show you, if you remember, I was talking about the little hair twiggies. So you're going to take your hook, and the way you're going to attach these is just randomly up top. Push your hook through, between a couple of stitches. Pull one of those tail ends through. And then on the other side of the stitch, push your hook through and pull the other tail end through. You see? That's what I was talking about. And you're just going to, from here, oops. Silly. I only had one piece. From in here, you're going to just tie it off. Double knot it. And you can either just snip it off or use the tail ends, hide it a little bit more, whatever you want to do. That's how you're going to attach those twigs. That's why I wanted you to have 2 tail ends for that. Okay? Now, for the arms, he's got like twiggy arms. You're gonna use your brown yarn. You're gonna use your brown yarn and you're just gonna cut some long strands. I'm gonna get mine right now. And there's not really any rhyme or reason to how long. Basically what you cut it as, once you cut your strands, and you wanna cut 6 for each side. So you're gonna have a total of 12 strands of brown yarn, but you wanna cut it so that when you fold it in half, that's what's gonna be the length of the string, okay? So when you're looking at how long, like if you're looking at it like this and it's like, okay, this is how long I want the strings to be on the side of the hat. Well, you're gonna wanna do it, you're gonna wanna cut your yarn double that length. And here's why. I'm gonna do one side right now. So I'm gonna cut my 6 for one side. I'm gonna cut all 12 because I'm just gonna have it evenly done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and last one, 12. So I'm going to separate this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Set the other ones aside. So I've got my 6. Now I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to go to my ear flap, and I'm going to push my hook into that little like centered loop area. Grab a hold of all 6. This is where it can be a little tricky. You might have to fiddle with it a bit. I might have missed one. Did I? No, I got them all. So you're gonna have it, this I have to weave in. I'm gonna push that aside. But I wanna show you this step. So you're folding it over the halfway mark of that ear flap, and then you're gonna separate it evenly. So 4, 8, 12. So 3 sections evenly, all right? And then you're just gonna braid. So take the outside one, put it over the middle, outside, over the middle. And you're just gonna go ahead and braid the strings all the way down, and then you're just gonna tie it off at the bottom, repeat it for the other side. And now you have your finished Olaf hat. And don't forget to like and subscribe and check out those helpful links in the description below.